Welcome back to Zero to Hero, the series where we teach you how to teach yourself how to play Pokemon VGC. We're back in the How to Actually Play series, and today we're looking at weather teams. Weather teams often rely on, or at least heavily make use of a weather condition, being rain, sun, sand, or snow, to significantly boost their Pokemon and hinder their foes. They always include some way to set the weather, either with a weather setting ability or manually with moves. They also include 1 to 3 weather sweepers and other Pokemon that indirectly benefit from the weather in some way. As usual in this series, we'll consider the goal of the archetype, consider specific tactics that can be used to get the most out of these teams, and how to play into bad matchups. So what's the goal of weather teams? The goal of weather teams is to set up a weather condition and use the benefits provided by it to overwhelm your opponent. In the meanwhile, making sure that the weather stays up, especially against opposing weathers, either looking to close out the game before the weather ends, or finding a safe way to set it again. This sounds simple, but there are many more mechanics you need to keep in mind when playing weather compared to playing other teams. And you also need to keep an eye on the weather timer for how long it will last, as well as keeping in mind the fact that it can be changed quickly by opposing switch-ins or weather setting moves. We have 2 weather teams today, both of which come from Reg H. Just before we get into it, make sure to subscribe if you like this type of content, and leave a comment which archetype you would like to see next. This is a relatively standard rain team, comprising of Pelipper, Basculegion, Archaludon, Overqwil, Amoonguss, and Gholdengo. We see our setter in Pelipper with Drizzle that sets the rain on switch-in. We see mechanical synergy in Basculegion and Overqwil, both of which have Swift Swim, which doubles their speed while the rain is up. Basculegion in particular can also take advantage of the 50% boost to water moves that rain provides, allowing its Wave Crash, Aqua Jet, and Flip Turn to hit incredibly hard. Archaludon also has its signature move Electro Shot, which charges and fires in one turn while the rain is active. Amoonguss and Gholdengo also fit nicely onto this team, as they benefit from the fact that fire attacks are weakened when the rain is up, essentially removing one of their weaknesses, although not providing any hard synergy like Swift Swim does. Our next example is this Sun team piloted by Joe Ugarte. Joe is one of the best players in North America and ran this team extensively through Regulation H's first run. It has Torkoal, Hisuian Typhlosion, Jumpluff, Dragonite, Garchomp, and Kingambit. Again, we see our setter in Torkoal, who is quite supportive running the Eject Pack and Helping Hand. The Eject Pack is an item that forces the user to switch out when one of its stats are lowered. This combo is great with Torkoal, as it can use Overheat to lower its own special attack, then force itself to switch out after attacking, and this allows it to switch in again later to reset the sun. Jumpluff with Chlorophyll doubles its speed in the sun, and can provide speed control for the rest of the team, with Tailwind, or disrupt opponents with Encore and Sleep Powder. Typhlosion is the strongest offense on the team, with the Choice Specs, Terrafire, Eruption being boosted by the sun. It can often one-shot neutral targets, and even hit Pokemon that resist it incredibly hard. The other 3 threats on the team don't directly benefit from the sun, making this sun offense more of a mode than the whole point of the team. But they synergize well with each other and the sun mode, boasting priority damage, so not needing speed control themselves as much, and with 2 Terra Flyings, that allows Garchomp to fire off Earthquakes combined with the 2 natural flying types on the team. So what specific tactics can be used to get the most out of your weather team? Weather teams often play like amped up hyper offense or more powerful balance teams, just being stronger than average with the weather or weaker than average without it. Many weather specific tactics come up more in weather versus weather matches. So we have just 2 general tactics, then we'll consider weather against weather specific tactics after. Our first tactic is a surprise speed switch. This is a tactic when you have a Pokemon with a speed doubling weather-based ability, like Swift Swim or Chlorophyll on the field, and your weather is not active. With this board state, the speed order would look something like this: Sneasler, then Dragonite, then Basculegion, then Archaludon. But if you bring in your rain by switching out Archaludon for Pelipper, this will affect the speed dynamically, instantly doubling Basculegion's speed before any Pokemon move, thus changing the speed order to Basculegion, Sneasler, and then Dragonite. This can be very effective when your opponent may feel safe, seeing they have the speed advantage, but being able to bring your weather in and instantly double your speed is a very threatening option that they often have to respect. Our second tactic is preserving your setter. Since weather is all about using the boosts you have while you have them, it's very important to keep an eye on how much weather time you have left. It can be tempting to leave your setter on the field and just simply use the offense that they have, since it's also boosted by their weather, to try and close out a game. If you find your weather timer is almost expired and the game isn't quite closed yet, it's often more impactful to preserve your weather setter by switching it out, perhaps even sacrificing one of your sweepers if needed to keep it alive. Keeping it alive allows you to refresh your weather should it run out, and allow you to finish the game with your other sweeper, pretty much guaranteeing you can win the game. Next up, let's consider our weather-specific matchups, as this tends to be the most technical matchup for weather teams, is playing against different types of weather, as it often leads to what's called a weather war, where both players are prioritizing keeping their own weather on board. Our first tactic is how weather leads work. As you know, Pokemon, when sent out on the battle, have their abilities activated in speed order. This is particularly important for weather teams, as if there are two weather setters on the field at the start of a game, the faster one will activate their ability first, then the slower one will activate their ability second and overwrite the preceding weather. This means the slower setter's weather will take priority. This means when facing opposing weather, it can be beneficial not to lead your weather setter if it is the faster one in the matchup, as if you both lead it, your opponent will get their weather up. Having it in the back gives you the option of switching it in later to reset the weather when needed. However, if your opponent doesn't have weather, it is usually quite strong to lead your setter right away, since they'll have no way to remove your weather, allowing you to benefit from it for longer. Our second tactic is weather switches. Different from leads and weather abilities, when switching, the faster Pokemon on the field will switch out first, and then the slower Pokemon will switch out second. And weather setting abilities are based on when the Pokemon switches in. So if you don't have any weather setters on board, say Dragapult, and your opponent has a slower Pokemon in Amoonguss, if you switch out Dragapult to Torkoal, while your opponent is switching out Amoonguss to Pelipper, what will happen? Dragapult will switch out first, since it was the fastest Pokemon on the field, and Torkoal will set the sun. Then Amoonguss will switch out after, since it's slower, bringing in Pelipper, which will overwrite the sun with rain. Even though Pelipper is faster than Torkoal, when mid-battle, the ability activation is dependent on the Pokemon's speed that was already on the field, not the Pokemon that is switching in. Thus, the slower Pokemon on the field, being able to swap out for a weather setter, has a stronger hold on the weather. Our final tactic is manual override. Most weather teams just use weather setting abilities to get their weather up, but this creates a heavy switching game, as mentioned, against opposing weather, with each player trying to maintain their weather of choice. Some players choose to opt out of this and use manual modes of weather, like Sunny Day or Rain Dance, often on prankster Pokemon like Whimsicott, Tornadus, or Murkrow. This does mean that you don't get the benefit of setting the weather for free on switch in, as you have to spend a turn to set it, but it does give you a significantly stronger hold on the weather against opposing weather teams. If your opponent just switched in their Tyranitar, you can simply override it turn 1 by clicking your prankster boosted Rain Dance. This can also be used when you already have your weather of choice and expect your opponent to bring in their setter. So say the rain is currently active and they bring in Tyranitar setting the sand, and if you've locked in Rain Dance, you'll immediately use Rain Dance with Prankster and take the weather back. This is incredibly difficult to overcome when your opponent only has switch-in setters, as there's simply no easy way for them to guarantee that they can switch in their setter and keep the weather that way. Thanks for tuning in to how to actually play weather. If you want to see more of this type of content and want to support the channel directly, feel free to check out the Patreon. Thank all the patrons for supporting the channel, and thank you for watching.